Good evening and welcome to the Village Board of Trustees meeting. Today is Monday, March 1st. It is now 7:10 p.m. I ask all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And once again, let us remain standing and think about our loved ones that have gone before us and all those that are suffering through this pandemic, along with honoring our military men and women. Let us give thoughts about them. Thank you. My apologies for the technical difficulty that I was experiencing here, but we're moving forward. Roll call of trustees. Deputy Mayor Barone.
You're muted, Charles.
Present.
Okay. Trustee Corrigan.
Present.
Trustee Alpert.
Present.
And Trustee Sauberman.
Present.
I also have the village clerk, Miss Amy Paffenroth, with me. And Mr. Magrino is also online, the village attorney. Excuse me. Is Attorney Glickel online also? Yes, he is. Okay, first order of business would be if the Assemblyman Michael Lawler is on and he would like to present to the village residents and the board. Mr. Assemblyman Lawler.
Okay, I think I'm on.
Good evening, Assemblyman, and thank you for attending the board meeting.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me a few moments of your time to speak. It's good to see you, Mayor, and members of the village board, and to the residents of Suffern. Just to give you a quick update on what's going on in Albany, we're in the middle of the budget process. We are now on a 4-day work week from this point forward through the end of March, when we will hopefully be adopting a budget by April 1st. In the executive budget, just a few items that you should be aware of. The governor has proposed cutting $606 million in direct state school aid, including $6.7 million in cuts to 7 of our 8 school districts in Rockland County, including the Suffern School District. I have proposed legislation that would offset those cuts and specifically change the state school aid formula so that Rockland County schools are treated like their counterparts in Long Island and New York City when it comes to the regional cost index. My bill would change the labor coefficient from 1.314 to 1.425. That would add an additional $11 million in direct state aid to all 8 of our school districts in Rockland County. Obviously, that's something that the Suffern School District could utilize tremendously, and also for obviously our property taxpayers who pay the second highest property taxes in the country here in Rockland County. Secondarily, you should know that in the governor's executive budget, he has proposed cutting aid to municipality by 20%, about $13.6 million. The town of Ramapo would lose about $85,000, and the village of Suffern would lose about $18,000 in funding. I'm opposed to these cuts. As I said, our taxpayers pay some of the highest property taxes in the country. And we are continually shortchanged, whether it has to do with education funding, aid to municipalities, MTA funding, as you well know, with the Suffern train station. So, it's something that we need to fight back against. I am pushing back on these cuts and will continue to do so over the next few weeks as we negotiate the budget. CHIPS funding, so that is staying level in the governor's executive budget proposal at $438. My colleagues and I have sent a letter to the governor's office, as well as the speaker and the majority leader, to ensure that that does in fact remain. One public policy proposal that you should be aware of is that the governor is looking to pass the legalization of marijuana in the budget under the guise of a revenue enhancement. The state of New Jersey just last week legalized recreational use of marijuana, and obviously as a bordering village to the state of New Jersey and Mahwah, you should just be aware of that. New York State's proposal, the governor is allowing for an opt-out. I believe County Executive Day has said that he would seek to have the county opt out of allowing for recreational use. But we will see what the final bill is. One of the things that I've raised as an issue beyond the enforcement aspect with respect to the ability to test for the levels of THC in someone's system at the time of a potential DWAI is the potency of marijuana. Currently, there's only one state that has legalized marijuana that has capped the potency of it. Every other state that has legalized it has not. So I've raised the issue of whether or not there should be a cap on the potency and hope that will be part of the discussion. We are seeking to get this removed from the budget so that we can have a thorough debate on it and discussion and make sure that the decisions that we're making related to it are based on health and science and safety and not revenue enhancements in the budget. Beyond that, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Just really wanted to give an update, answer any questions you may have, and let you know that I'm one of your voices in Albany, and very much look forward to working with the mayor and the village trustees to address the concerns and needs for the residents of Suffern. I am a graduate of Suffern High School, as I said on a village meeting when I spoke during the campaign. So I care deeply about what goes on in the village and in the Suffern School District, and want to be a partner with you and work together and address any issues you may need, whether it's local bills and home rule legislation or constituent service work. My office, which is located in Pearl River, my district office, we are, working every day to help residents. And certainly, if any of your residents need assistance with any state agencies or departments, please don't hesitate to reach out to my office, 845-624-4601. Or you can email us at lawlerm@nyassembly.gov, or obviously reach out to your village board, and we will be responsive to them as well. So with that, any questions you may have, happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions for the Assemblyman?
Assemblyman, could you give me an update on any conversations about sports betting in Albany? Like it's legal in Jersey?
Yep. So that is something that is being discussed as well. The governor's proposal is really to have a complete state takeover of sports betting and create a government entity by which all sports betting in New York would operate through, as opposed to allowing DraftKings or other entities to operate. I think there are real questions about the constitutionality of that under state constitutional amendments that were passed a few years ago when we legalized gambling in New York. So I think that's something that certainly is being discussed. I know the Assembly, Gary Pretlow, the chair of the Racing and Waging Committee, it has his own bill and that he's looking to put forth. And I think that is probably a more realistic bill that would legalize sports betting in New York State. Obviously, when we have a neighboring state like New Jersey passing sports betting, we know full well being, bordering villages and hamlets that our residents are going in and engaging in activities in Jersey. So I think this is one, especially on sports betting, where there will probably be consensus at some point, and that's just something that we're gonna have to negotiate through.
Thank you.
Mike, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
It's a hard one for you because I'm going to ask you, what do you think are the chances that these financial cuts are going to actually happen? In other words, shall we really expect them?
I think, to be fair, we're obviously dealing with a financial crisis, in part due to COVID, but in part also due to New York State's fiscal mismanagement over many years. Heading into last year, we had a $6 billion budget deficit. This year, in large part because of COVID, we have about a $15 billion budget deficit. We're waiting on the federal government to potentially provide, a bailout, if you will. I think the problem is, even if the federal government did provide a bailout, it's a one-time, bailout. It's not going to solve our financial problems, and it's something that we're going to have to grapple with over the next few years, and we need to be serious about it. So I think there is a real potential for cuts, and the governor in his executive budget is looking to cut state school aid and is looking to cut aid and municipality funding. And that will have an impact on property taxpayers here in Rockland County. And that's why I'm pushing back specifically on the state school aid formula. That is one of the biggest problems, that we face year in, year out, where we're being shortchanged. So I'm trying to address the formula itself and fix that so that we're not facing a $6.7 million cut, but rather $11 million in additional funding. And if you ask, well, where are you going to get that money? I'll give you a case in point. Last year, the state legislature passed a $100 million taxpayer-funded campaign finance system to basically pay for political campaigns for state legislators and statewide office. I have a bill in to repeal that. In this year's budget, the governor has allocated $7 million in his executive budget to basically set up that $100 million system. That's $7 million we don't have. That's $7 million that I'd rather spend here in Rockland County. And so, there are boatloads of proposals like that we need to focus on getting rid of, so that we're not making these draconian cuts in aid to municipality or school aid.
Okay, sounds bad.
It is.
Assemblyman, do you have support for some of these changes that you'd like to make, for example, in the school aid formula and in the repeal of that campaign funding thing for the state legislature? Do you have support from other legislators in the assembly to get something like that passed, or is this just talk, at this point?
Yeah, so like with anything in Albany, you have to go through the legislative process, and certainly I am in the minority, so I'm under no illusions as to some of the challenges. But I have had many conversations with my colleagues who are in the majority, and am working through that legislative process. And obviously, I think there is broad agreement, certainly, with the need to change the state school aid formula. And so I am continuing to work through that. I did speak with, for instance, Assemblyman Zabrowski the other day about that. And we talked about, obviously the need to address it. So I think with any legislation put in, there's always a process by which you have to go through to build consensus. And that's what I'm working on.
Well, I wish you good luck. And these things do sound like common sense, and I hope that we can get that passed. I'm sorry about the ring. I'm going to mute myself.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Truly appreciate it. Very interesting information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you for standing up for our school districts and the funding to our schools and our children. and also standing up for the village of Suffern and your entire district. And thank you for attending tonight's meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
Take care.
Have a nice night. Thank you.
The public has their hand up. I guess they're not going to get a chance.
Okay. We missed that.
Someone in the public had their hand up to ask.
Okay,
a
they
question.
could speak at the public comment portion. Is that okay?
I think they wanted, they had a question for the assemblyman.
Is the assemblyman still on the line, or did he hang up?
No, I think he's gone.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
relay
that's
that question. You know what, I skipped over the workshop meeting. So the next workshop meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 29th at 7, and the next regular village board meeting will be April 5th. Fire Department, Chief Jeremy Kaufer.
How is everybody?
All right, how you doing?
Good. Just so real quick, on the agenda is the resolution to allow the fire department to post the preliminary report for this year, or for 2020's LoSAP program.
So I have the resolution authorizing the posting of the preliminary Suffern Fire Department Service Award Program for 2020. Do I have a motion?
I
Motion.
make a motion.
Trustee Corrigan, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, do we have any further discussion?
You said 2020. Do you mean 2021 or?
I do mean 2021.
Okay, I just
Okay,
wanted to
thank you.
clarify that.
Yeah,
No problem.
sorry about that. Oh, wait, is that for 2020 or is
It's the
it?
2020.
It is for
It is the
2020 for the
2020
service
program.
award for 2020.
Oh, for the past. Oh, I see. It's for what they earned in the past. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I wasn't sure. I thought that was just a mistake.
You're welcome.
It was Corrigan and Alpert.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
And then real briefly, going back to, I believe trustee Corrigan had brought up at the workshop meeting regarding the hydrants and the list for the elderly residents who are unable to do it.
Yes.
I've done some research on it. I found a municipality out in Illinois, Bartlett, Illinois, who does an adopt a hydrant program. They seem to manage it pretty well. They have a sign up through their municipality's website. You go on there and then it brings up a map and shows you all the hydrants that have been adopted and the ones that have not. So I'm going to do some research and reach out to them and see how they went about to start the program and what they're using in terms of software and mapping to allow the residents to pick a hydrant.
Wow, great. Thank you.
So
Anytime.
we have over 250 hydrants throughout the village.
Yeah, they have a lot as well.
In conjunction with the fire department, maybe the adopt a hydrant program, the assistance from the DPW while plowing. We're exploring all options and we're working together to see what kind of best solution is for the village of Suffern. So thank you, Chief.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you.
And that's all I have for this evening.
Thanks,
All right.
Jeremy. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for all you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, it is now 7:30. Make a motion to open the continuation of the February 1st public hearing to consider changes to chapter 254 of the Code of the Village of Suffern entitled Vehicle and Traffic.
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Warren.
Trustee Corrigan, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Magrino? There you go.
Yes, this is a, as you said, a continuation of the public hearing from the last meeting. Mostly because, the law was, there's a lot of changes. I think, for the positive, again, Amy worked very hard on this. We worked and put this together. So I don't believe there are any changes. I shouldn't say that. Amy, maybe if you could go through, I believe there was one or two changes that that were made since the last time. But other than that, it was more to give the board and the public a chance to take a good look at it before voting. So that's where we're at.
Okay, Ms. Paffenroth, did you have a, what is it, section 34?
We've added an additional section to be modified that would enable the towing of vehicles in the central business district, in addition to the municipal parking lots, upon issuance of a violation. So that was the only additional change.
So with the violation, the village would be allowed to tow right away?
Yeah, that's
Violation would have to be issued.
Yes.
and that's currently in the code already
For lots.
for the lots, not for the streets.
Oh, okay.
It used to be on the streets, but for snow.
Yes.
For snow,
it is.
yes.
Yes, for snow it is.
Mr. Magrino, I have a question. Is there a time limit for the speakers that wish to speak?
Yeah, it would be 5 minutes.
4 minutes.
Well, it's 5 on a public hearing like this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Mayor, we have a speaker, Michael's iPad. If you'd like, I'd unmute him and then he can identify himself.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to go to section 4 of that report, 254-32-1. If you look at section 4, you'll see where it talks about the Capital One parking lot. In 2010, the village of Suffern came into agreement with the Capital One Bank. Suffern was very persistent, and they told Capital One Bank that that was very important to our village for shoppers. That would be the same 50 Lafayette Avenue that we're talking about on other issues. We signed an agreement with them. I see now we're taking all of that Capital One stuff out. I was wondering if anyone ever approached them to see if the shoppers could have used that property. For the last couple years or more now, when the new buyers came in and they put Java Love Coffee Shop they roped it off and chained it off. So here, even though it was important and senior citizens could have got the things easier and other people could have walked the things easier, they chose to chop off and close that property. Okay, that's the same people who are coming now and saying, can I have parking from you even though I took your parking? I just want that on the record, because if you look in this report here, you'll see it's mentioned more than one time. But we had that parking was very important to the Chamber of Commerce and also the village. And the person who actually signed, the mayor who signed that agreement at that time was Dagan LaCourte, was the one who actually through emails said he was persistent because how important that property was. I just want you to know, because this parking issue, so I want to put that on the record. And just keep in mind, when they got the property, they went and locked it off so shoppers couldn't get there. So senior citizens couldn't use it and walk there. So businesses couldn't survive there. So there's much more to talk on that. But since it's still with parking, I just want to point out in your last meeting, when the mayor said he wanted to have a public hearing, he was 100% illegal in doing that. When he called for a public hearing, you have to go by chapter 266 of our zoning law. It spells out what you must do, what you shall do. Under the law, when you say the word shall, you have to do it. So if you go and read that law, you'll find out that you have an obligation to get a completed application. And you have to even have the other businesses that were in 500 feet of that location You have to have them drawn out, because you can't just take other property owners who have been here for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, even through families, and just treat them like garbage. You have an absolute right to follow the law, and I'm just instructing you this because I know you don't want to break the law, but you're on that path. But if you read chapter 266 of the zoning law, it'll tell you have to handle it. You have to then send the information to the planning board. The planning board gets 60 days to review it. And you also have to send it to the county, and the county gets 30 days to review it. Then after that, you get to do it, and then you can set a public hearing. Now, I see you just changed the agenda the last 15 or 20 minutes before I'm speaking here. Up to then, you were going to schedule a public hearing for April 5th. That was 100% illegal action. And I'm sad that I have to say this to this board. 100% illegal, okay? So you have to follow the zoning laws. They're in place. And that zoning law not just helps the person building, but the people that have been here. Sometimes we have to start worrying about who's here, who's not here. I'll have much more to say on this topic as I go on, but if I can just jump to another subject here on parking. Let's see.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Crowley.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask to extend my time because there's being the fact I had to instruct about the illegal action. I'm going to ask the board to extend my time here. You can deny me if you choose to. I'll do it on Facebook if you don't do it here. Huh? I'm also going to use this parking. Okay, we're going to be selling overnight passes because we know we have a bad parking problem with the Sheldon. The Sheldon, we gave out 1.25 spots. It was a guy named John Lang who did a horrendous job planning here, okay? And he said, oh, it's transit orientated. Well, it didn't work out that way. This village, they're taking all the spots across the street in the big lot now, okay? And you're hurting the business district, okay? COVID has brought on something new now. Everyone said, oh, well, no one's going to be in the city. No one's going to be here. Well, that's exactly why you need more spots open for the people that are going to be here so they can get in and get out quick, so they can go to our local stores, so they can go and shop it. That's why you don't want...
Mr. Crowley, just for the board, do you wish to extend the time for Mr. Crowley?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, about however long it was, a year ago or so, I fought this board because they wanted to spend $3 million to buy a piece of property, which I disagreed with. I disagree with it more in the fact that they didn't do the secret properly and how it was done. Okay, I think there were certain things hidden from certain people. Okay, and I know that now. Okay, right. And even the mayor said to me, the only time I've seen him since it started was in March when I was doing something in my parking lot. And he pulled in. The last time I've seen the mayor, and he said to me, "Good thing I didn't buy that property, right, Mr. Curley?" I said, "Good thing." I said, "Good thing I stopped you from buying it." Okay, because now we know we don't need that property, and that property costs this village, the taxpayers, $100,000 in legal fees and everything else. We didn't have a pool because we didn't have the money to open the pool. Let's be honest. At the end of the time, we can go check Facebook, we can go check the village post. We didn't have the money. Okay, I'm asking you not to make irresponsible, rash decisions. Okay, we're going with a comprehensive plan now. We're going to approve a comprehensive plan. All this zoning and parking taking away can be addressed there. So I heard Mr. Magrino in the last meeting saying it might take a year. So we work a little harder, different. We make it take 9 months. But there's no reason to push these projects because you are changing zoning, okay? I was asked by John Lang over a year ago when he was trying to sell this project then. He came and saw me and said, well, what if we made the project where it included your property, your size? I said, no, sir, that's not how I operate, sir, okay? Because this property, this zone is being written by Ari. That's how the applicant does it. So the applicant's writing it up. And also I'm sure his partners, Dagan LaCourte, the ex-mayor, and Ryan Carbon is the other partner, and another gentleman, I don't recall his name right now, okay? These people know zoning in and out. They know that Ryan Carbon does more business with zoning than anyone in this whole area. So they're smart enough to know, what's going on here. You're going to change so much by this one little piece of zoning, okay? I have more to say, but I'm not going to, I want to respect the meeting and keep it going, and there'll be other time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak in regards to chapter 254? This time I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second, trustee Barone.
Sorry, who was the first?
Oh, I'll be the first.
There you go.
Motion.
Trustee Corrigan on the motion, trustee Barone on the second. Any further?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I should wait till the public portion's closed, but I do have some questions about this, but maybe, I guess we close the public portion first. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the public portion of the meeting is canceled, closed, excuse me. And trustee Alpert.
Yeah, so, in reading through the various changes, in the amendments here, I saw some items. I mean, maybe it's just, I'm maybe misunderstanding the intent, but there seems to be some contradictions. For instance, I'll just read a random example here that I see. So it says Schedule 12, no stopping, and then it has the regulation and it lists.
I'm sorry, where are you? What section?
So section 11. I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to go forward to another section because I'm just using this as an example, not for any particular reason. But it seems like there's contradictions and there were others. I'm just picking one out. So it's nice and simple. That's all. So in section 11, for instance, it says Schedule 12, no stopping. And then it lists the streets, and some are coming on and some are coming off. They're crossed out if they're coming off and so forth. But just to use one example here, again, I'm picking a random example, Chestnut Street. It says both ways, both sides, entire length. So essentially no stopping. So it sounds like there'd be no parking at all on Chestnut Street. You move forward another page to the next page, and now it's Schedule 13, no standing. And once again, it lists Chestnut Street, both directions. So I'm just trying to understand, doesn't that contradict? In other words, is it a no stopping zone where there's no parking whatsoever on Chestnut Street for the entire length, as it says? Or is it a no standing zone, again, for the entire length? And there's other streets that actually appear on both schedules. I'm just using that as an example. But what exactly is the intent here? Are we getting rid of all parking on that street? Or can someone speak to how certain streets are on here for entire length when I'm sure there's actually intended to be some parking spots on these streets?
Yeah. Stopping and standing are different than parking.
Right. I'm not sure that they contradict each other. It's standing is when you stop and the person stays in the car or gets out of the car for a minute to run in. That's permitted in certain places. It's not permitted there.
But in a place that has parking, in theory, a place where it's legal to park can't be a no standing zone.
Well, I think
Because
if you're in a
there's
parking spot, you're okay.
Well, it's
Right,
not.
Amy, you
That's
want to
not
weigh in
clear.
on that?
That's my
I think-
point.
Was that the
That's-
intention?
Well, I don't know what the intention is, but that's my point. Is I think the law as written in this current thing here is not too clear, because I know from my sort of vast experience decades ago, I used to sort of take my chances and drive a lot in New York City, and you had to be very careful and read the signs and decode and decipher the signs very clear. And if something said no standing, you couldn't stand there, but you also couldn't park there, is my point. So you can't physically have a parking place. If something says entire length, no standing, that means the entire length. From anywhere to anywhere, no standing, you can't even legally have a parking spot there. That's my point.
Can't you have a parking spot with a no stopping or standing? Doesn't that mean in the street where the car is parked in a parking?
No, I think no standing and no stopping are referring to by the curb. That's
Well,
where you
I
put
know-
the sign.
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
On any parts of the street.
Amy, what was the intention on that with the?
Well, it's for no stopping. It says no person shall stop a vehicle upon any of the streets or parts of the street. So that's like double parking.
Right. That's how I understood
No
it. too.
person shall stand a vehicle upon any of the streets or parts of the street. So you have no stopping, no standing, and then there's parking. There's parking where it's permitted, where it's time limit
And striped.
and striped.
I see.
Right.
So basically, just to be clear, these spots, these streets that you're listing here for no standing, no stopping, these are referring to the middle of the street, not the curb side on either side.
Right,
Correct.
because 254-16 is parking prohibited at all times. Then you have stopping, standing. And then 19 is parking prohibited certain hours. So they're different types of definitions.
Right. It's just, like I said, to me, when I see the word entire length, that would including the parking lanes would be included in that statement by my interpretation of.
I can see how you would
regulation.
interpret that, yes. But it's,
So,
I go back to the definition section, and then the schedule occurs later on. So if you go to, for example, 254:14, it starts the articles of parking, standing, and stopping.
okay, I don't have that. I don't know if I have that in my printout. I'm not
No,
sure.
because what you have are just the areas where it's being modified.
Yes.
But if you go into the code to look at the entire chapter 254, those definitions are under section, it's Article 3, and it begins with 254:14. And then it ends with 254:25.
Mhm.
It includes fire zones.
Mhm.
So it provides the definitions of the different types of parking areas.
Okay.
And then later on, the schedule refers back to that section, which is a little confusing, but then it actually outlines the streets and how they're affected by the law.
Mhm, mhm.
Amy, I just have one quick question. The no stopping and no standing, and I'm pretty sure your answer is going to be yes, because you've worked on this for so long. That means yellow curbs as well, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay,
Any in that area.
that's what I figured. Okay, thank you.
You see a lot of it downtown in the evening hours where people are
Yep.
double parking. They have their flashers on. They go and get their takeout. They're not in the spot.
Yeah,
They're standing. They have the flashers on, or they've actually stopped and exited the vehicle.
correct. And then the best part is they do a U-turn because they don't
Oh,
want to.
yeah, that's another one I've seen a lot lately too. Even on Suffern Place where it's a little narrow, they're doing U-turns there too.
Yes, and when they don't know how to do a K-turn because they didn't learn that in driving school, it's really a hot mess.
So I've seen them parking on the wrong side of the street.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. I don't so see it.
Okay, do we have any other,
Do you want to read the new
Concerns.
section?
Let me see
254.
which one is it here? 9 or?
254:34 is the new section that. Rob
So the
did.
towing of the vehicle for 254:34, any motor vehicle parked in violation of 254:33 of this article may be impounded with or without the issuance of a summons for unlawful parking in accordance with the procedures set.
That's municipal parking.
That's
lot.
in the lots. Then any motor vehicle parked in violation of 254:15 of this article may be impounded with the issuance of a summons for unlawful parking. That's on the street.
In the central business.
So on the streets in the CB and then in the lots, which was always able to tow.
Also, I have a question. I know I apologize because I may have brought it up at the last meeting, and I apologize that I don't remember the answer. I know I brought up at previous meetings about the loading zones on Chestnut
Yeah.
Street near like 25 or so Chestnut Street, and I wanted to clarify: are they all day loading zones? Are they certain hours loading zones? Do they need to be all day? If they are, that kind of thing. I wanted to go over that.
Right now it's listed, that it was 4 spaces. It's down to 2 spaces. That's 254:68. So it'll be 2 spaces only in front of Tiger Chef Building. It's up for discussion if you want to have it loading zone between certain hours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be fair to say, I don't know that any vendors should be entitled to an all-day loading zone. I think they should restrict that to, 4 hours, something like that. It's reasonable to have a 4-hour window, but I don't know if it's reasonable to have the whole day.
I agree.
Well, but if you're getting Federal Express deliveries in UPS, how do you know what time they're coming?
Well, you can't,
why
I
just
don't
this
think you
business
could, I don't think, I sort of agree to a certain extent with Trustee Alpert that you shouldn't be able to tie up those 2 spots for the entire day and entire night. Just like these spots, the loading and unloading on Lafayette is time restricted. So I think
I'm in
something
favor.
similar, I mean, something early in the morning, we know they get trucks early in the morning and later in the evening.
I'm totally in favor of having loading zones at various spots in the village, but I do think they should be time limited. I don't think they should be carte blanche.
What's the time? Do we know the time limit on the Lafayette Avenue parking spot, loading zone?
It's usually 8 AM to 4 PM, but I know Tiger Chef gets deliveries later in the afternoon, sometimes after 6 o'clock. And they are tractor trailers that come in. So I don't know, you know, it's up for discussion. You could limit it to a certain time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that, 6 AM to 8 PM or.
Yeah, I think that would be reasonable because they do get early morning deliveries and late evening deliveries.
How about if it was like 6 AM to 10 AM and like 4 PM to 8 PM, something like that?
Oh, split?
Yeah, but we could.
That would be tough for scheduling for their deliveries. You also now have a new appliance store that's across the street. And I believe they accept some deliveries too. And I guess they would be sharing that loading zone.
So can I make a suggestion? Can we leave one open-ended and put time limits on the other one then? And put it in the evening? Why not?
Well, because the trucks may be too big to get into the one spot. And if you have a car parked in the other spot, it might impede the loading and unloading, causing double parking or additional traffic. I would think the time limit, like 6 AM to make it 7 PM. They go,
Yeah,
I don't
6
think,
to 7,
6 AM to 7. And then after 7, those spots are opened up until like.
So
2 in the
again,
morning.
I'm going to get back to what I said before. So you're saying that on Lafayette Avenue, all the loading zones are time limited. What is the time limit on the spots on Lafayette?
They open up after 4 PM.
So it's, what time does it start in the morning?
6 or 8 AM.
I see. So it's 6 or 8 AM till 4 PM. So it is all day during, you know.
Yes, because that there's many stores that use those spots, those loading
see.
zones.
And
Right.
it's a
There are
different kind of drop off, Trustee Alpert. It's sort of your food vendors that are Pepsi and then you have.
Right, they're smaller trucks.
They're delivering during the day.
Right.
Where Tiger Chef is a little, their
Totally different.
deliveries are a different type of delivery.
Those trucks are big.
Yeah.
And they are there quite often in the late evening.
Mhm.
So does the board feel 7 o'clock is late enough?
Does Amy think so?
I guess my,
So can we say 7 o'clock and then can we reach out and ask them? Let's ask the business. What time do they?
So then we'll put off the adoption, the resolution adopting the changes.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting that because we've done this for many, many, many months. So can we adopt it for, say, 7 o'clock? Reach out to the business owner. If it should be a problem, then maybe we can make that small addendum next month. And if he doesn't have a problem with it and that works for his delivery schedule,
That's
then we
fair.
don't, then we don't need to make any changes, but at least we're reaching out to the business owner who obviously needs those deliveries. And I've seen them come, and I don't know if it's past 7 o'clock, I'm not exactly sure, but they do come very late in the evening.
Okay, I think that's if the board's inclined to move in that direction, I think that's good. So we'll say from 6 AM to 7 PM. And we'll reach out to the owners down there and for especially Tiger Chef and the new appliance dealer.
Mhm.
Okay. Is the board in agreement with that?
yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
So, and the other thing, so Amy specified that it would go down from 4 spots to 2 spots. I think that's sensible. That makes more sense.
Yes,
works
absolutely.
quite a lot.
I spoke to Robert down there in the barber shop and other merchants down there. So yes, absolutely. Okay.
All right, and with that one change, that's a de minimis change, so we don't have to recirculate it, just to insert those hours. And
Okay.
All right, that's even better.
And as far as, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Continue. I was gonna ask one more
The,
question, but I forgot it.
Reso. Oh, wait, this is, the reso's attached. Okay, so I have the resolution adopting local law 1 of 2021, amending chapter 254 of the Code of the Village of Suffern entitled Vehicle and Traffic. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee
Second.
Barone,
Second, trustee Corrigan.
second trustee Corrigan. Any further discussion?
I remembered my question. So with
Okay.
all the changes, are we gonna need to change a lot of signs? And do we have sort of the budget to replace the signs that would have to change?
We have the sign shop and we have the ability to make those changes and the signs and lettering. We do have that.
Okay, and
We
when
have that
would,
equipment and personnel to do it. Yes.
that's fantastic. And when would the new changes take effect, since assuming we pass it in a moment?
We would have to just start cataloging the changes and referencing the signs and making those changes, I mean,
Okay.
as soon as possible.
So the local law gets filed with the state, along with the resolution. And as soon as the state acknowledges its filing, it's
Takes
enforceable.
effect.
Okay,
So then, and we can already in advance, though, prepare for
The signage.
the signage and the striping. The striping is going to be a big thing. The team that worked on it last year recommended painting the sides of the sidewalk. For example, if it's handicapped blue, if it's a loading zone, a particular color, to make it more noticeable for our parkers and our merchants, to have
Okay.
customers come in and be able to park with ease. So we can do a lot of those different things, and we'll have to work with Charles Sawicki to find out when would be the best time to, when the weather breaks or when we can do that. It's going to be a big project, but it's going to really help parking in the central business district.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Paffenroth, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Did a great job. Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. It is now 7:58. Make a motion to open a public hearing to consider amendments to chapter 213-7 of the Code of the Village of Suffern to designate the processing of FOIL appeals.
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone,
Second,
Second.
trustee Corrigan.
trustee Corrigan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Is that it?
That's,
Okay, Mr. Magrino,
Mr. Glickel,
Mr.
prepared
Glickel, I'm
this law,
sorry.
so I'll defer to him on that.
Evening, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Glickel.
Hi. You've heard me talk about this before. Basically, these amendments to the section very simply adopt the statutory language that's found in section 87 and 89 of the Public Officers Law. For whatever reason, when the village code included the section on FOIL, it did not adhere to the precise language of the statute. So, for example, while appeals in the event that there's a denial of a request for access to materials are heard by the board, that's where it stops. The statute, however, provides that not only maybe they refer to it as the agency, hear the appeal, or its designee. And so what we've done here is we've added the term designee for a couple of reasons. One, of course, if the designee by resolution as your appeals officer becomes either the village attorney or whatever attorney the village attorney designates, you'll have somebody who's able to receive and respond to the appeal in a more timely fashion than if the entire board has to first be presented with it, discuss it, and so on and so forth. And quite frankly, these appeals do involve questions of law. And for the most part, the board is really not up to speed with those aspects of the public officers law and freedom of information, the caseload, or the cases that are promulgated, and the advisory opinions from the New York State Committee on Open Government. The other thing that it does is with respect to following a determination on the appeal, if a denial is upheld, it says that the requester may file an Article 78 proceeding to challenge that opinion. And again, that is exactly what the language provides for under Public Officers Law, Section 89. So basically, we're just cleaning this up. And quite frankly, for those who are less than enamored with the various levels of government, I can tell you, in my opinion, this entire section of the code is probably unnecessary because the village does not have the right to supersede state law. And the state of New York has covered the topic under the Public Officers Law years ago, to the extent that a section of the code would have provided, for one, designating who your records access officer is. That's a good thing. And two, designating who could handle appeals. That's also a good thing. But other than that, the majority of the language that's set forth in that section is superfluous and unnecessary. I'm not suggesting at this point in time that you consider repealing the section, but I can assure you that it is covered by state law. Now, after the adoption, then the next thing that would follow, and this could be done either on an annual basis or as needed, the board would pass or adopt a resolution designating your appeals officer. And again, my recommendation for the time being would be the village attorney or whoever the village attorney might designate, be it an assistant or some other lawyer who is perhaps under retainer to the village. And but that's it, and it's a very simple change. Basically, you're looking at adding the words designee or its designee in two places and clarifying the requester's right to seek an appeal of determination via CPLR Article 78 proceeding. Questions?
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
Motion. Oh,
Motion
sorry, go ahead,
trustee
Chuck.
Alpert, second trustee Corrigan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I have the resolution adopting local law 2 of 2021, amending chapter 2137 of the Code of Villages, Suffern, entitled denial of access access to records. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, second.
Trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Glickel.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Next up, Culture and Recreation, Ms. Mills.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
There you go, yes.
Okay, hi there. So a few things that we have coming up. The month of March is Youth Art Month. We're working with the art teachers from the different schools on projects for students that we can, work with them and get some art projects that are important to the youth and important to us here in the village. The mayor is working really well with the Girl Scout troop. I know we had a Zoom meeting. I wasn't on it, but the mayor, you had a great meeting with the youth for the Girl Scout troops last week. And we're looking forward to more coming out on that. We have senior bingo next on Friday, March 19th. We had one last week. It was a huge success. A lot of happy seniors. We do limit the number of people in the center to make sure that we are social distancing. So we're making sure that we have an RSVP, and that went really well. Again, a lot of happy people coming back to some normalcy here and there. We have our egg hunt coming up at the gazebo on Saturday, March 27th. That will be RSVP only, and it will be for Village of Suffern residents. We sent the notices out today. It's going to the schools this week. We put it out on Facebook, and we're letting people know that it will be RSVP only. And we're doing that again this year to make sure that we are limiting the numbers and we are socially distancing. We do want people to enjoy themselves, but we're being very cautious and very realistic about what we can do. So we are going to have that on the 27th, and we look forward to people replying to the RSVP. You can email me at cmills@suffernny.gov to let us know your village address and the children's names and ages so we can organize a great egg hunt. Nancy and Elaine and I have been working on that just to make sure we're, again, having distancing and the numbers of people in all the groups. So it's a little different than last year, but or the year before. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it last year, but we are looking forward to it. This is our first big event, and we're thrilled. We did put the word out today that the pool is opening. We're very, very excited for that. We've reached out to the health department. We did this in preparation, trying to get the information of what we're going to require for the pool. We are getting revved up. We're excited to thankfully open up the pool this year, and everything will be done according to all the recs, all the health department recommendations, CDC, and our staff is working very well with DPW. A lot of work needs to be done over at the pool, so we're looking ahead to June and starting now. So that will be coming up. We have been hearing, the word goes fast. We heard from lifeguards today that saw the post, or their parents or families saw the post, kids that were at the pool in the past. They're looking forward to coming back to us, some of them. So we are happy to hear that we will have some returning guards, and we'll put the contact out to them and see who else is interested in coming back. The Chamber of Commerce is having a great event in March. I wanted to mention they are having Restaurant Week coming up March 14th to the 18th and March 21st to the 25th. They are running specials so that people come into the village, go to the restaurants. They're also doing this as takeout, which is different than in the past. So they're encouraging people to come to the restaurants and dine in the village, or again, take out in the village. And then Assemblyman Lawler, I didn't get a chance to thank him before. The bin that's outside of Village Hall has been filling up. I know Mayor and I saw it before. His staff has been coming and emptying it. It's filling up so much. I know, Joe, we talked about it last week during the workshop. People really are generous. We're seeing a lot of people donating food, and it's been a great thing. Today, the bin is full again, so Assemblyman caller, your bin is filling up for donations. It has been extended to March 8th. So for anyone that still is interested in contributing to it, the bin is outside Village Hall. You don't need to go in. You can just drop it off right in front of Village Hall. We have Keep Rockin' Beautiful scheduled with our Arbor Day ceremony on Saturday, May 1st. And that will be another, we were able to do it again last year. It was a drive-by. People came by, picked up their supplies. It'll be the same thing. We will work with leaders and group leaders from Keep Rockin' Beautiful. People will be able to stop by the center, get your supplies, and then go to your sites and then come back with your supplies. It worked out really well this past fall, and we're going to continue doing that again. So that again is May 1st. We'll get the information out there very shortly, and people will be able to sign up for Keep Rockin' Beautiful. You can go on keeprockinbeautiful.org and sign up for the cleanup, and then they will get us information on that as well. And then we have the discussion. I don't know if the board, if you want me to go through the items that we're looking to surplus. We talked about it briefly at the workshop. Do you want me to go through them, or what works best?
I don't think it's necessary because we saw it printed.
Right.
We have them listed on the resolution.
Yes, we do. No additions, no changes. Those are the same ones. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I have the resolution to declare certain equipment as surplus as discussed and as indicated on the resolution. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Trustee Sauberman, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I do have a question for Cathy about the pool. I know last year we had
Motion
talked about,
passes. I'm sorry. Go
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mayor. I thought we were done. Last year we had talked about that the pool is in desperate need of painting. So is that going to happen before we open it this time around?
Yes, that is the intention. We won't be able to open the pool without painting. So that will be that will be done. We have to go out to bid for that. It's a large item. So we're working with DPW on a few different things over at the pool, and that the painting of the pool is one of them. Yes.
Okay. And that's something we have to go out to bid. We can't, the DPW is not in a position to do that work themselves in-house?
I don't believe that DPW can do the painting of the pool, no, because
Okay.
a lot of it has to be scraped. It's
I see.
It's a big deal. It's a.
I see.
So I would say, yes, we will have to go out to somebody to do that.
I see.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Cathy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Have a nice night, Cathy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cathy.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Next, Chief Loughlin, Suffern Police Department.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. In the month of February, we responded to 609 calls for service. As the board knows, we're in the process of upgrading and renovating this police station. The project is moving forward and going well. We've received several flooring quotes and have selected a furniture vendor on state contract that we have begun working with. So overall, the project is proceeding well. I also wanted to update the board on the status of our police reform collaborative based on the governor's executive order 203. We've had our last police reform collaborative meeting and a draft report has been sent to all the community stakeholders for review. Once the draft is approved by all the stakeholders, I'll send the report to the village board members for review. After the board has had an opportunity to review the report, we'll make it publicly available on our website and social media platforms for public input. After we get input from the public, we're mandated by the executive order to hold a public comment session on the report and provide certification and a copy of the plan to the director of the New York State Division of Budget on or before April 1st, 2021. Lastly, I wanted to thank the mayor and the village board, the DPW, Recreation Department, Suffern and Mahwah Fire Departments, Ramapo PBA, and all the police agencies, including the Rockland County Sheriff's Office and the Ramapo Police Department, for the assistance that they provided to our department for the funeral services of Lieutenant John Mallon. I also want to commend all of the members of our department for their professionalism in honoring Lieutenant Mallon for his 40 years of dedicated service to the village of Suffern. As you all know, this was a difficult time for our members, as Lieutenant Mallon was a huge part of our department for so many years. Our members rose to the occasion and properly honored him, and I thank them for that. I know he would have been proud of each and every one of them. Lieutenant Mallon will be missed by us all and has left a void in our department that will never truly be filled. That's all I have for my update. My only agenda item is I'd like to ask the board to authorize us to send Sergeant Daniel Kiernan to a basic public information officer training course in Albany County from March 23rd to the 25th. There's no cost for this training other than we would need to lodge him in a hotel because it is more than 1 day's worth of training. Detective Long was our public information officer, and since his retirement, we need to fill that position. I have funding in my training line to cover the lodging, so that would be the only cost to the village.
Ed, you're on mute. Ed, you're on mute.
Thank you. I
It
have
happens to all of us. It's been a year and we're still forgetting to unmute. It's the new normal.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing Sergeant Daniel Kiernan to attend police basic public information officer training in Albany County, New York, March 23rd through the 25th. Do I have a motion?
Motion,
Motion.
Trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. I would also like to speak about Lieutenant Mallon and his service to the village of Suffern for over 40 years. Over the past 7 years, I've got to know Lieutenant Mallon, and he was one of a kind. He was a great professional and a great guy to talk to. He will be deeply missed by the department and by the village. He was born and raised here in the village of Suffern, and I found to know that many of his friends that I also know. But thank you to you, your department chief. Thank you to the Suffern Fire Department, the DPW, the recreation staff, everyone that was involved, the Suffern Fire Department, the Mawa Fire. They made his final salute and send off remarkable and unforgettable, and he will be truly missed. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Chief, while you're on the line, I just wanted to sort of put out there, there was for many months, based on a request by the prior board, actually, that the village board be updated on the overtime each month. And I don't believe we received an update during the workshop last week. So I thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Okay, I'll send it out to the board tomorrow morning.
Because I personally, if it's up to me, it's not up to me, but if it's up to me, I think the public should know, and it should be announced during the meeting as well.
That's no problem. I'll send it out to the board tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Bruce Simon and the Community Foundation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, board. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
How are you?
Very well.
Good, thank you. Just wanted to add one thing. I know the chief is still on, though he's not talking. We all knew Lieutenant Mallon. The best thing I think anybody could say about him, he was a stand-up guy. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. All right, I'm going to try something here. We're going to share a screen because we have some exciting news. The t-shirts are ready. Do you guys see the t-shirt on your screens?
Yes, we do.
All right. This is all new for all of us. Your new normal, Joe. For the Suffern Marathon that the Suffern Community Foundation is putting on, we are selling t-shirts to fund the programs that we plan to work on this year and going forward. The t-shirt, as you see it on the screen, is $20, payable online. I will send anybody a PayPal link. All you have to do is send me a size and quantity to suffernmarathon@gmail.com, and we'll get that right out to you. We're taking the orders. You pay online. No cash is changing hands. The money stays here in town because the t-shirts are being printed at PromoFect, what you all used to know as Royalties. They've recently changed their name. So we were able to stay with the village business and keep our money here in town, downtown,
to benefit everybody here in town. All right, there was another thing I wanted to share. The next thing the Community Foundation is working on is another food drive. Sorry, stop that. Let's go to the next one, because you never know what's on the screen. All right, never mind. We have another food drive with Sacred Heart on Saturday, March 20th from, I want to say 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm sorry, I got to get that to come up, but we're collecting hams, potatoes, canned vegetables, gravy, dried milk, canned soups, pasta and sauce, tuna, peanut butter, jelly, boxed cereals, dessert foods, and supermarket gift cards. That's Saturday, March 20th from 11 a to 2 p. Distribution of the Easter gift baskets will be Saturday, March 27th, 10 a.m. to noon. Anybody who needs food, call the rectory at Sacred Heart. They're the ones handling it. The Community Foundation are just pitching in as they can. Last thing I wanted to throw out there, it's a new year and we're able to do not just Battery Saturday again, finally. Couldn't do it last year. We all got squeezed out as everything did. On Saturday, April 24th, the next Not Just Battery Saturday, downstairs at Village Hall, if the Village Board approves. I have already gotten a commitment and a buy-in from the CSEA members in the street department, who are always the first ones to step up and raise their hands and say, how can we help? And I can't, speaking for the foundation, I can't tell you how much that means to all of us that they're always there for us. So that's where we are right now. Those are the three things I wanted to hit everybody with. Again, suffernmarathon.com, suffernmarathon@gmail.com. T-shirts are on the way. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bruce.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up to public participation. We have anyone from the public that would like to speak?
If so, please raise your hand. With the, how do you do that? With the,
See Mike's
Mayor,
iPad.
we have a hand from Michael Curley, 84 Orange Avenue, Suffern. Go ahead, Michael.
Hello, folks, again. I guess I missed when Mr. Lawler came, so I just wanted to, you said you would get it to him. So I guess I want to point out, Mr. Lawler, he just won his race recently against Ellen Jaffe there. He's a very cagey politician, and I just want to let him know from our point, we have to be the squeaky wheel to get the oil, okay? So I want to let him know that Suffern needs money also. He was the deputy supervisor of Orangetown, and, you know, somewhere, somehow, he received the block vote in Ramapo. His election against Ellen Jaffe and his election against Ellen Jaffe. And I wanted to remind him that we, since we're lower in that total poll, that we need money also. We need it for our roads, for our police, our fire, our pools, including the Knowles and Bon Air, okay? That we're here also, and it's great he comes and tells us what he's doing upstate, you know, with his certain political agenda. But at the beginning and the end of the day, we need to do for all people in Suffern. And that's what we need. So I just wish I had the chance to tell him. So I hope you can convey my message. He knows who I am. He's recently been asking a lot of questions about me. So he knows exactly who I am. So I'm sorry I missed him, but I have no problem talking with another time and expressing that point of view. Okay. And I'll just mention again, as far as a comprehensive plan in Suffern, I think you really have to look at that and hold off doing any big projects until you really analyze what's going on. Okay. Now, again, the agenda changed there. So I noticed there's something about appointing a planner or something. Well, that doesn't come out of village coffers. That comes out of the person who's applying for that. But still, why wouldn't we just find the person we want to use to do the whole comprehensive plan and appoint to them? Why wouldn't we just work on that and then let them do it? It's going to take months anyway, no matter how you look at it, because everyone that gets to review it, and even the planning board could say we need a little more time. We got experienced people on that board, you know, from Jim Giantino to Dale to the McEntee family. I think we utilize them correctly, okay? Because this change here, and I haven't actually seen, I'm only going off memory of when John Lyon came to see me a long time ago, but it was a certain specific zone just for them, huh? So they actually write the zone. Then they get to write the zone to make it fit into their spot, right? So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of, maybe zoning's a little different, but please go back and read 260 of the zoning law. It tells you like it gives you the direction of where to go, because so far your direction was incorrect, you got, okay? And I believe it was by mistake, all right? I hope it was by mistake, all right? But, even Fred Sauberman, he just got on the board. He's a new guy. He doesn't understand any of this. He's learning it, okay? And even though he's been on boards and Bon Air, inspected, doing those things, he doesn't, he's just never been in front of these things, okay? But I just think you have to look at these and follow it to the letter of law, because those other property owners have rights also. What about those store owners? What about, who gets up and how many feet it takes you to get to a store? It's all relevant. We have something in front of us that we haven't had because of the coronavirus, and we can use it to a betterment where we don't just fill up again. Let's say you wanted to build a parking garage at the end of town, and I'm going, and I don't know if I'm right in this number. I think it's like $75,000 per spot. Okay, we were going to build a garage. Okay, why should the taxpayer suffer and be burdened with that? And again, I don't want to look at the past. This is what we did wrong, but let's not do it in the future. We're here today now, and let's change for the future. Okay, and as a community, people talking, working together. We don't need to rush through anything here. And thank you for your time, and thank you for extending my time earlier to the board. Have a safe day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with their hand up?
Yes, Mayor. Someone identified as Brian Bogan. If you would identify yourself, please, and your address.
Hi, my name is Brian Bogan, 55 Kensico Court, Suffern, New York. Hi, I'm here. First, I want to say thank you to the DPW for doing such an outstanding job on the village roads during this last month. That was overwhelming. Secondly, this is for the mayor. Mr. Mayor, is the DPW a unionized workforce in the village here in Suffern?
Yes.
Okay, my second question for you then is, last year in the budget, I saw that the village of Suffern was purchasing a garbage truck for approximately $640,000. Did the village take delivery of that truck in fiscal year 2020?
No.
The
But
reason
we will
why?
take your questions. If there's additional questions, we'll take the questions and answer them at the end.
Okay. My last point of view is just that I know Carl Minuto last year took a no bid contract for the garbage service here in the village of Suffern for dumpsters. And I proposed to the board and yourself last year that it should be done by a unionized workforce through the DPW of the village of Suffern with the use of the Suffern garbage trucks. Has the village, as yourself and the board, have you sent out proposals for, or are you going to just go with another no bid contract? Or have you guys reviewed the cost to have a unionized workforce, such as yourself at the DPW, collecting our garbage for dumpsters and not a non-unionized workforce? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are you through? I'm going to move on to the next hand that's raised. Mr. Genito.
Yes, the next one is our president, CSEA president, Joe Hunt.
Okay, Mr. Hunt.
Joe, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now, Joe.
I had an extended speaker and it takes out. Good evening, Mayor Board members. I'm here today to say openly the CSEA is willing to jump in at any volunteer event that you have going, whether it be to any foundation, any links you can help us, Mayor and Board, to overwhelm our community and our tax base with our volunteerism. You know, for the last 15 years being a union member, I have done a lot, and I just want to overemphasize that we're still here to do a lot. And if you guys can guide us and help us, funding, we're looking at Connor School, helping the 5th grade foundation do some fundraisers because they've been locked down like a lot of us, and the kids need to grow into the high school or junior high or middle school, whatever you want to call it now. And we're willing to help fund some of their events. Again, keep us in mind for your blood drive, your food drive, your coat drives, or whatever you got going on, and we'll be there to help you. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt, and thank you to the CSEA for all of the volunteerism that you do throughout the village. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else with their hand raised? Okay. At this time, I'd like to close public participation. And is Mr. Sawicki on?
Well, do you want to answer Mr. Bogan's?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Sawicki?
Charles, you should be able to speak. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Charles, would you mind reviewing those questions from Mr. Bogan in regards to the truck, the garbage truck, and the contract for the container service?
Okay, well, the truck has been ordered, and that was the total cost was under what was budgeted was $240,000. What the purchase price came in under that, and it was purchased through essentially it'd be equal to a state bid equivalent. And in regards to, I'm not sure if the gentleman was talking about the Bon Air Stonegate area. He mentioned Menudo, I believe. I'm not sure if he meant Morangi.
Right.
So I'm not sure if he was talking about the Stonegate Bon Air. The Stonegate Bon Air, we did look at that a couple of years ago and being able to essentially acquire that workload. The problem with that is the equipment we would have to buy, and we have to also purchase containers. The initial cost is very, very high, and it didn't. The cost factor for us to do it versus what Morangi or another quarter could do it for, our costs were higher because the fact that we would have to purchase additional equipment, the containers, and so on and so forth. So again, if that was his question, that we did look at that a few years ago.
Okay.
Just to add, Charles,
Yeah.
just to add, in case it's any different, I believe he did identify that he was in the Knolls. So in case that's a different contractor, I believe it's the same one, but just in case.
Yeah, so and he did mention Menudo, so that kind of makes sense. That we never looked at. We never looked at that specific situation.
But would you still need the certain equipment at the same time?
Yeah, so I mean, it really it's smaller scale, but it'd be still similar, similar things that we would have to gear up for in terms of additional equipment, containers, and it gets very costly, and that's the reason why we were unable to really pursue taking on that extra work.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you also, as a person who lives in Stonegate, and I'm also on the board in Bon Air, the garbage pickup by Morangi, I think it is just excellent. They're prompt with their service, and they give us new dumpsters when we need them.
And also just to add, for the benefit of anyone in the condos, whether it's Stonegate or Bon Air, or I presume the Knolls as well would be the same. the rate that these residents are charged for their garbage pickup is actually, I believe, half or less than half what the homeowners, such as myself and many of the residents in Suffern, have to pay for garbage pickup by the village. So actually, ironically, I think you're saving some money by having the current arrangement.
Nice to hear.
All right, great. Thank you very much. The treasurer, Mr. Genito.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Board. We have two things on the agenda. One I actually submitted to you very late today. Unfortunately, the information that I needed for it came in very late. In any event, the first one is the authorization for the mayor to sign and for the police chief and myself to prepare what are known as the equitable sharing agreements. And that is with the Department of Justice, where forfeiture funds from the U.S. Department of Justice and U.S. Treasury periodically are shared with our local police department. In any event, documents have to be filed. The documents have to be filed from 2018 through 2021. And this resolution is requesting that authorization for the documents to be filed and for the mayor to sign the agreements.
So I have the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the equitable sharing agreements and certification forms for fiscal years ended May 31, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Do I have a motion?
Trustee Sauberman makes the motion.
Trustee Sauberman, do I have a second?
Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The second one is a resolution where periodically it's good practice for the village to go out and seek what is known as our municipal financial advisory services. A municipal financial advisor is someone who must meet certain strict requirements and be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Only that person and or persons within the village staff itself can provide advice and recommendations as regards the timing, structure, maturity of debt. And so we went out with an RFP that went out to actually more than 100 vendors on BidNet Direct. That is, we are a member of BidNet Direct. And we received, or at least there were 16 firms that downloaded our RFP. 3 of those firms responded to it. And we are recommending the firm, which happens to be the firm we currently have, both for the pricing, which is very competitive, as well as the long-term service and qualifications of the firm.
So I have the resolution accepting proposal for municipal financial advisory services. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Board. That is all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Genito. Mr. Sawicki, Department of Public Works.
Okay, I think I'm back on.
Yes.
All right. The first item is authorizing application for payment number 2 to Covino and Sons Construction Company, Inc. for the Wayne Avenue sidewalk project.
I have the resolution authorizing payment 2 to Covino and Son Construction Company for the Wayne Avenue sidewalk project. I have a motion.
Motion, Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank-
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next item, authorizing Pingera and Deutsch to provide bidding assistance, contract management and inspections services for hardening of water treatment plant and backup power for critical facility results.
I have the resolution accepting the proposal from Pignatari, Pintangaro and Deutsch, excuse me, to provide bidding assistance, construction management, and inspection services for hardening of the wastewater treatment plant and backup power for critical facilities projects. Do I have a motion?
I
Motion.
have a question.
Oh,
Isn't that part of what we were doing with, the $3 million? Wasn't that a generator going towards that?
Yes, this is the Gosher project that.
Oh, it is Gosher. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it is, yeah,
Okay.
it's that three,
I
it is
just
that
didn't
$3 million grant, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize the name. Thank you.
Okay, so I have the resolution in front of us. Do I have a motion?
motion, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the wastewater treatment plant upgrade contract 1. We have, it is a Wicks law project broken up into 3 separate contracts. And this again is contract 1. The upgrade project consists of 2 contracts. So this is for contract 1. The general contract to Capolo Services, Inc. for $2,798,890. The electrical contract to Meal Electric and Communications Company for $390,965. And the HVAC contract to TM Brenman Service, Inc. for $169,000.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing the wastewater treatment plant contract number 1 bids. And I'm going to just skip down to the now therefore be it resolved that the village board hereby accepts and awards contracts to the following low bidders for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades contracts as follows. 1G, general contract to Capola Services, Inc. in the amount of $2,798,890. 2, 1E, electrical contract to Meal Electric and Communications Company in the amount of $309,965. And 3, 1H, the HVAC contract to Brennan Service, Inc. for $169,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, any further discussion?
Yes, I have some questions. So this is a very large amount of money to just kind of vote on at the moment. My question is, we're talking about, I think if we add these numbers up, it's in the range of $3 million. Is that correct? Somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm just doing it in my head. But anyways, where does this fit in terms of the so-called $9 million that has been proposed for the upgrades to the sewage treatment plant? Is this half? Essentially, are we getting it at a better deal? Is this a third? Is, you know, like, where do we stand on the whole project if this is just phase 1?
Okay, I could try to answer that. It is the smaller portion of the project. Contract 2 is the larger portion. I think what I mentioned during the workshop was that Delaware Engineering prepared an engineering estimate for this work, and it was just over $4 million. So obviously the number has come in less than that. It's 3 point. I did have it here.
3.2.
Yeah, 3.7. I think it is. Yeah, I had it here, and I.
The 3.7 million. Okay.
Anyway, it does come in less than the budgeted amount, which we felt good about, and the contract 2 is a larger amount and would be, I think the budget estimate or the engineering estimate for that is around $5 million for a total of $9 million.
So having said all that, I mean, have we looked into the possibility of any grants? I just don't feel right in essentially spending $9 million of the taxpayer money on a system that, maybe could be repaired properly. I don't know. In other words, this is a very big project, and I feel like we're jumping in too fast. That's my opinion. I'd like to see the plant repaired, but I don't think we have to spend $9 million of the taxpayers' money. I think we should try and get some grant money or whatever the case may be to cover the lion's share. I think this is too much burden on the residents. The residents are already overtaxed. $9 million is in the neighborhood of almost like half a year's budget. So basically, we are telling every resident they've got to fork over 50% more money to pay for this, essentially. Now, it's not happening over 1 year. I understand we're bonding it over time if we do it, but I, for one, think it's too expensive. And I think we should look into other alternatives.
There is also grant money that we are utilizing and low interest rate financing. If Mr. Genito could speak to the EFC and the grant.
Yes. Well, as of now, we've hit what's called the subsidy line. So the short-term financing should be 0%. The long-term financing and the grants associated with the project, they've estimated to bring the total cost down from, well, the cost will be 9-point-something million, roughly $9 million. And with the grants, the actual cost to the village would be about almost half of that, about 5 million, 5.5 million. So, and there, the financing long-term with the EFC, which we would go, would be the AAA rate for financing for long-term bonds under the EFC. We would receive a subsidy on that interest of 50% of the interest. So you can't get a better deal than that. And in any event, as regards looking at alternatives, there is only a couple of alternatives from my long experience dealing with the sewer plant and with sewer systems. In Rockland County, you have the Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, which essentially manages much of the sewers in Rockland County. Other than that, you have a couple of towns, Orangetown and Clarkstown. Clarkstown, I believe, doesn't have an actual sewer plant. Orangetown does. And so if you were looking for an alternative, it would be to either try to sell the sewer plant and operations to a private operator. That would entail some issues because all of the debt that was issued, we told the people that lent us that money on the long-term bonds in our official statement that we would not be using these funds for a private entity operation. Private entity bonds would be much more expensive than public entity bonds. And so the only other alternative would be for someone like the Rockland County Sewer District to take over the sewer plant. And I don't believe that there's any desire for them to do that. There was some years ago interest in doing that when they didn't have what's known as the Western Ramapo Sewer Plant. That's the one on Route 17. Just on the border of Mulwa and Hilburn. And they were looking to take care of, put in sewers in the western part of Ramapo, which was essentially Sloatsburg, unincorporated Ramapo in that area. But in any event, that never happened, never materialized. And so they built the Western Ramapo sewer plant. So they really don't have, to the best of my knowledge, a need for the Suffern Village sewer plant. And so we don't really have too many options other than to maintain that plant and improve it. And as I understand it, this $9 million, while it is expensive, was a project that was studied by a few engineering firms in the village to come up with the best possible plan, which also, by the way, had to go through DEC approval to make sure that it met all the requirements to handle the effluent.
Right, and if I could jump in also, Steve, and I'll defer to Charles on this, but obviously we're under a consent order by the DEC, and it may seem quick or abrupt in terms of the numbers, and I get it, but as Michael said, we had experts review it. We've had, it didn't just come up. We put out competitive bids. The bids were reviewed. So while I guess we didn't, the numbers may not have been presented at the workshop, you know, I just wanted to, you know, put it out there that it wasn't, you know, like it just kind of came up out of thin air. This is the result of a longer process. And Charles, I don't know if you wanted to comment on that.
Well, yes, yeah. This has you know, again, the consent order is the driver here. We have until May of 23 to complete this work. So there really isn't any options. There aren't any options open to us at this point.
Well, that sounds like, I'm sorry to cut you off, Charles. That sounds like a long way away. By September 30th of this year to issue a notice to proceed, which is a notice to the contractor to start. So,
well, there's two contracts here. The first contract, as I mentioned, is the smaller contract, and that would be done earlier in that period. The second contract is the larger contract, the more involved contract that's currently being reviewed by the DEC. That would be the notice of award and notice to proceed for that contract would come later this year. So they wouldn't even be able to start that until the latter part of this year. So again, there is a definitive time frame to complete this work. There is a consent order. If we did not proceed with the stated work that we're talking about here, the village potentially could be liable for penalties upwards of $37,500 a day per violation. So, you know, this is something that's been around a long time. We've been discussing it. And again, there really aren't any options. This is it.
So continuing my thought process, has there been any consideration on how this 9 million, or perhaps less because of the grants that were mentioned that actually I wasn't aware of, how that's going to affect the ratepayers here in the village for sewer? I mean, what are we going to expect when the bills come due on these projects? What kind of increase is going to?
Well, Michael could talk about that more in detail, but I believe it's going to be a long-term bond that would be paid over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And Michael could speak about that more in detail.
Mr. Genito, can you maybe give a rough estimate? I mean, before I'm prepared to vote to spend, you know, in this case, close to $4 million right now, and then another 5 later, I want to know how the residents are going to be affected, because honestly, I feel like, you know, we're already, you know, basically being pushed against a wall with our taxes and everything else.
Well, actually, I couldn't give you an estimate at this time. What I'd have to do is contact our financial advisors, look at what the current rates are that the EFC is able to acquire. I'd have to find out from the EFC what the life of this bond will be. Sewer projects can typically be lent out for as much as 30 years. And the EFC will be working with its bonds, whether they be 35 or 25 years. That's typically, or I'm sorry, 30 or 25 years, which they would have. So it would be, I could only work up a rough estimate. I would have to look at, and again, get back to the EFC and find out typically what's the long-term rates that they're getting today. You know, how much of that would be subsidized? What would that cost then be? That would have to be calculated by our financial advisors to give us an estimated debt service run. And then I could look at that and how much it increases the sewer.
I just did some quick math, rough, you know, just let's say we didn't get any grants, or let's say that fell through. So worst case scenario, $9 million over 30 years works out to $300,000 a year. Now, I don't know exactly how many ratepayers there are in the village on the water system, the sewer system, I should say. I apologize there. But if there was to be hypothetically a $300 debt service addition, can you give me a rough guess how that would divide out among the ratepayers? You know, is that an extra $100 a year per ratepayer, something like that? Do you have any kind of
I would not venture that guess without getting those numbers buttoned down a bit more. I'm sorry, I just don't.
All right.
feel comfortable
Well-
in offering that off the cuff kind of number that somebody could
Understand.
just come back and say that you really didn't have the right basis for that.
Understand. So I'm just, before we vote on this or whatever, I'm just going to preface my vote by saying, not saying we don't need the work done necessarily, but I'm saying I don't believe we have the right numbers, information available to the residents for me to make an educated vote. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
All right, I added up that number and it's $3.278 million. So that's
Yeah,
the
I thought it was
total
closer
for
to
this
3. I did it in
contract.
my head. I was surprised when someone was saying it was closer to 4. I figured it was close to 3.
Yeah. Contract 1, okay.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No, no.
Mr. Sauberman?
Aye, I vote yes.
Aye. And any opposed?
Me, no.
Okay, Mr. Albert, all right, thank you. Motion passes.
Are you voting, Mayor?
Yes, I voted yes.
Okay. Okay, let's see. The next item here is to accept the resignation of Travis Jennings, laborer at the Street and Refuse Department.
The resolution accepting the resignation letter of Travis Jennings effective February 12th, 2021, non-pro-tunc. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Requesting the appointment of Timothy J. O'Keefe to the vacant laborer's position of the Street and Refuse Department.
So I have the appointment of Timothy J. O'Keefe as laborer effective, should it be March 1st or should it be?
March 15th.
March 15th. So there's a correction to the reso to March 15th. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, any further on the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Requesting authorization for a hedging design group to provide professional services to assess the building condition at Village Hall.
We have the resolution accepting the proposal from Hedging Design Group to provide an assessment of Village Hall building conditions. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sawicki. Mr. Magrino. You have to unmute yourself. Mr. Magrino, are you with us? Give him a second.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Sorry. I don't know what happened. It just froze.
All right, you're up, please.
Okay. The first resolution we discussed at the workshop is authorizing a license agreement for the use of Tanarampo Police Firing Range. This year it is at no cost. I did note at the workshop that if we are to enter into this agreement next year, there may be a cost because they're doing some improvements. And again, this was at the request, of course, of the Chief of Police.
The resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the license agreement with the town of Arapahoe for the use of the town of Arapahoe Police Firing Range. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, any further discussion?
Yeah, I just had a question. Does the police department also use or still will continue to use the firing range that's in Suffern by the ball fields? Or is this in lieu of that? Or what's this? Is this an additional spot?
I'd have to ask the chief to weigh in on that.
Yes, we primarily use the Suffern, the Arapahoe Sportsman Association range at the Suffern ball fields and the Rockland County Police Academy range for our long guns. This is basically a backup plan that we use it, here and there if we have an issue with getting range time at one of the other ranges.
Where is this range located?
Torn Valley area.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I'm sorry, the next item was the public employer health emergency plan. As I described at the workshop back in, I believe it was September, the governor issued an executive order requiring public employers to come up with an emergency plan in the event of a similar situation we faced last year. As I described, in essence, it's akin to what we did last year around this time and the weeks that followed in terms of adopting, work rules and issues with respect to people being out and things of that nature. So the plan was prepared, was sent to the unions as is required by the executive order. And there were a couple of changes. We sent it back to the unions. I'll just ask Ms. Paffenroth to confirm that they had no comment. We're prepared to adopt it now. And again, they need to be adopted by April 1st of 2021.
That's correct, Attorney Magrino. There were no comments.
Okay.
Okay, so I have the adopting the public employees health emergency plan for the village of Suffern. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan, do I have a second?
Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone on a second. Any further discussion? I would like to say thank you to Ms. Paffenroth for all the hard work that you've done on this project, along with Mr. Magrino and the union input and myself. It was a challenging project, along with a challenging year, and I think it's a great plan for our employees. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Next is with respect to the zone change petition for 50 Lafayette. Yes, this the proper plan is to accept it. As the speaker, Mr. Curley, noted, typically the applicant prepares a local law for something like this. In reviewing it, I took a look at it, and given the nature of this particular proposed local law, it's affecting the downtown, the general business district, central business district. It needed more work and review. What I discussed over the weekend with the mayor and earlier today with some of the board members was referring this out to the planner who had worked on something similar before, who's Mr. Lang. I wasn't sure what Mr. Curley was referring to about conversations he had with Mr. Lang, but in any event, that review would be paid for by the applicant. That's in the resolution, that they would deposit the sum of $2,500 as an escrow. And the plan would be for Mr. Lang to review it, myself, Mr. Conley, and come up with something that the board can review. As presented, it wasn't, in my opinion, prepared for or proper or ready for a review. So that would be the game plan going forward, is to send it out and start the process.
I have the resolution authorizing the acceptance of the petition for zone change from 50 Lafayette Avenue LLC to be forwarded to Lang Planning and Consulting LLC for further review. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I comment before or after?
I would say on after the second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So who was the first motion?
Trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert. Do I have a second?
Second, trustee Sauberman.
Trustee Sauberman, and on the discussion, Trustee Corrigan.
Yes, so Rob, when you're speaking with John Lang, who I've worked with for many, many years, and I appreciate everything he's done for the village and everything else. However, we do have a serious parking problem in the village. So we know that we already have a problem at the Sheldon, and that's at 1.25 cars. This one is proposing a 0.5 car. So can you just also explain to John when you're speaking with him and updating him on the project that parking is a serious issue and that 1.5 is not good enough? I really would like to have 2.
Right. Well, what I'll say to that is those details are policy decisions for the board. This is not John necessarily drafting it, along the lines of what you're suggesting. We're taking what they're asking for and putting it together in something that is appropriate for a review. It may not pass. It may not be something that the board members want, and they may want to tweak it. It was just that with what was presented, it's kind of, and we had this discussion, I foresee this as being something, if it were to pass, as an overlay zone, meaning it could apply to this property, it could apply to another property. So, I can draft a law in consultation with Steve Conley, but I think we need, a planner's expertise for assistance with that, which is why we're doing this. But so I'm just putting it out there that it may not come back with 1.5 or 2.0, frankly. It's more form that we're working on as opposed to the substance. The substance you're going to, if you wish to, debate and vote on, but I understand where you're coming from.
Okay, so, and it doesn't make sense to put this out to bid or to see if there's someone else that can do the project?
Well, I suggested John because he had, I've worked with him before, and again, it's just for crafting a proposed law. We may give it to you, and the board may like it, hate it, or want to make some changes. Right now, it wasn't even in a position to be sent out for you to like it, make it, hate it, or make changes. That's why we're kind of proceeding down this route. But it's up to the board. If you'd like to use somebody else, that's fine.
I don't know anybody. I was just asking.
My comments, Joe, are you done?
Yes, I'll be done. Go ahead, Charlie.
All right, my comments are, we're on the brink of starting a comprehensive plan. So I feel we're putting the cart before the horse. Let's get the comprehensive plan and see how this building fits in it. Let's not talk about this building prematurely. If they could fit all their parking on site, then it makes it simpler, but they can't. I feel I want to have a comprehensive plan and see how this building fits in it first.
Okay. Any further on the discussion?
Charles, I don't know, we don't know how long that comprehensive plan will take to formulate, and we don't know how realistic it may be. I think in the meantime, we should go forward with the enhancement of the village because there's a lot of pluses to this project. And right now, the zone change is not what Bob is going to make up is just a legalistic permission slip, so to speak, if we, the board, want to go through with this.
So Rob, does this have to go to the planning board first or no?
Well, I think once we have the law as prepared, you know, in a position that it can be passed, yes, we would send it to the planning board.
Okay, so we don't have to do that first. The zoning law doesn't make us go to them first?
No, we do. What I'm suggesting is before it even goes there, the law has to be, what the board has before it is not ready for review. It needs work.
Okay.
And, you know, I discussed that with the applicant because let's say, you know, it went ahead and passed. To me, there are holes that, you know, that are just there. We need to, again, perhaps propose it as a floating zone. I want to know the impact, again, before it's ready to roll, could this zone be used on other pieces of property or just one piece of property? So that's something that we'll prepare. And again, it's our preparation of it and John's review of it is not an endorsement. This is now, you know, we'll get you to a law that if it passed would be viable.
Okay, and it's at no cost to the village, correct?
Right, they're paying for the review by John Lane.
Mr. Magrino, with the work that's being done, I'm sorry, Mayor, did you have something?
I was just going to state that it's all for review by the planner. And he'll come back with the comments and the questions and the concerns, and then we'll look at it.
So I was just going to ask Mr. Magrino, with regards to what you were just saying, that maybe it's a floating zone, maybe it's this, that, the other. Are these the sort of considerations that the planner is going to look at as well? In other words, will he recommend, for instance, that this should be a floating zone or that it should apply to the four corners of that intersection or something to that effect? Or like what, you know, how granular is this report going to be?
Exactly. That's the issue is, you know, again, I have it in front of me. I can craft, you know, a change to the code, but without the planner, you know, I don't know specifically how many properties it would apply to or, you know, the impact it would have. So as part of that, you know, he would, you know, working together, come up with something that, you know, again, we say, all right, we'll make it a floating zone. Any property that meets this criteria can apply for, you know, this floating zone. Or is it something you change the whole downtown area? That wouldn't be my recommendation for presenting it, but we would, like I said, we'd come up with something that if it were to go forward, you know, it would be on solid legal ground and solid planning ground that people would understand, you know, what the requirements are, what properties it could apply to, et cetera.
I see. So, and at that point, if let's say it's a floating zone, as you said, and people could, you know, businesses or whoever could apply for it, we'd have to then as a board as well, follow the, you know, the same decision, if you will. You know, if you had two properties that were identical and one already got it, the other one, you know, based on their criteria, if it was the same, should get it as well, correct? There wouldn't be any opportunity for, oh, well, we don't like this guy, he's not getting it. You know?
It shouldn't. No, and again, that's why you try to have the criteria laid out and, you know, so that it's as objective as it can be.
Right. All right. I'm good with that, actually. You know, as long as, you know, if it becomes a floating zone, as long as anyone that, you know, feels that they were, you know, would have something similar could apply for it, you know, that sounds reasonable.
Great. Thank you very much. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Trustee Barone opposed. And I vote yes. Motion passes.
Okay, the next one is regarding establishing a standard workday for the Village of Suffern historian. As you'll recall, for the New York State retirement system reporting, the village is required to set the workday hours so that the employee can keep track and make appropriate application for retirement. I believe the last time the board voted on this, it included a number of positions, but did not include the village historian. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, she said yes.
Right. So this is just to establish the standard workday. I believe it's the same as the others, correct?
It's the same as, 6 hours is the,
Right.
least up to, 8 hours. So this is establishing a standard work day. It's equivalent to trustee and the same categories.
Okay, Mr. Magrino?
Yeah, so that's it, if you're ready for the resolution.
Okay, establishing a standard workday for the Village of Suffern historian for New York State Retirement System reporting requirements. Do I have a motion?
Motion, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert, do I have a second?
Second, trustee Sauberman.
Trustee Sauberman, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, motion passes.
Just mention to the trustees, anybody working on the calendar.
And if there's anyone else working on their calendar to submit their time as follows. And thank you to Mr. Long for continuing his service with the Village of Suffern. Thank you, Mr. Long. And
One more, if you're ready.
one more, I'm ready.
If you recall, and I forget the months run together for me. I guess it was around June of last year. The board authorized outdoor dining under certain circumstances pursuant to the governor's executive order when things were opening up. There's been a lot of orders. We're approaching number 100 for under this state of emergency. So, they've kind of been changed and modified somewhat. I believe the last one has pushed everything to March 28th. But that's as far as they can go. They can only go every 30 days. In any event, under the previous authorization from the governor's office, we're submitting something to permit the outdoor dining, again, obviously, as the weather gets nicer. What I'd like to say is, as part of the economic recovery from COVID, I mean, presumably we're still, have some concerns going forward the next few months, but, as part of what's going on currently and the recovery, it would be to authorize the outdoor dining on the sidewalks under the same conditions as we had before, and also parking lots under those same conditions.
And it also continues if the indoor dining becomes 100%.
Right. And again, that's why I say, as part of the economic recovery, again, restaurants lost a lot, still under time restraints. So it's an effort to, help the restaurants and help people, so that if they want to get out and continue to dine outside.
It's been a great help for our restaurants here in the Village of Suffern. So I have the resolution authorizing modifications to the Village of Suffern table and chairs programs to assist local restaurants reopen in accordance with New York State executive orders issued by the governor of the state of New York. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone. Do I have a second?
Second, trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert. Do I have any further discussion? I would like to say thank you once again to the village clerk and doing a great job, and the recreation department, in particular, Elaine Acasella, with helping us put this all together. And it's a great job. And also with the DPW putting out, the barriers and all of that. So it's been very successful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, motion passes. Thank you. Great job. Okay, Mr. Magrino, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustees.
I just have one quick thing, if okay.
Surely.
Okay, so Mr. Christopher Hatfield deserves a humongous congratulations for his new certification with the EMT. I absolutely am amazed by him. He is an outstanding gentleman. He does so much for this village, and he worked really, really hard on this test, and he accomplished what he set out to do, as he always does. And it really makes me proud to have him as part of our team. So thank you so much, Chris, and congratulations.
Okay, nice. And
Congratulations, Chris. We could always use that EMT and that medical support in case of any emergencies that may occur down there or within the village. Great job. Thank you for everything that you do. Okay. Anyone else?
yes, I'd like to thank you and the Recreation Department for that wonderful senior COVID vaccination program that you pulled off about 3 days ago. I was
Absolutely.
one of the people there, and it was really beautiful and smooth and so well done. It just blew me away on how well done it was, you know, so well organized and so nice to everybody. Thanks.
Absolutely. That was great. Thank you for mentioning that. And a great shout out to the rec department, Elaine and Cathy and Nancy did a great job, and that rec center is in tip top condition. And as we said in the past, that they were speculating that they may use it as a COVID vaccination center. They spoke about that early last year when COVID first started, and we, you know, when they did come through on that on a limited basis, but every bit helps. So thank you.
I have a question on that. So
Yes.
when did that happen, Ed?
That happened on Friday at the last minute, and I was in conjunction with Rufura and Loughlin County and the town of Ramapo, and we put it all together, and they plan on revisiting again, hopefully, and it's like a last minute notice, but it worked out great for our seniors and those 1B category people. So we made
That is wonderful. Can you
It's
let us
wonderful.
know the next time it happens so that the rest of the board knows about it?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yep. And we had made a lot of seniors happy. So great job. And Mr. Sauberman was good with that. So thank you, Fred, for attending.
So how did the list get picked? Just curious.
We have a list of Suffern seniors that utilize the community center for notification, you know, for our programs.
You know, the mayor got the notice that he was getting 22 vaccines for the seniors age 75 and older at the last minute. And he and his gang had to quickly make 50 phone calls to finally get 20 people to come and get the vaccine, which they successfully pulled off.
Yes, definitely a wonderful thing. It just would have been nice to have known. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I thank the county very much.
We all have to think of the positive, that we are helping all of the seniors out there as much as possible. Thanks to recreation, you unbelievable once again. So thank you very much. And
I hope also just to add to that, I hope there won't be any issue for the people who received their first dose at that event getting a second dose in a few weeks, month, whatever it is, depending on the brand of vaccine. I hope that's coordinated as the second half of that.
Oh, it will be.
Good.
It absolutely will be. It's regulated by New York State.
Yes, that's good. The other thing I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
They don't generally coordinate shots when they don't have, when they designate 20 shots, it's really 40 because they have to have shot number 2. So.
Right.
And they gave us all a card to come back exactly 1 month later because it was the Moderna vaccine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Fred. Congratulations.
Yes, you're the safest one here.
Safe. And I know. So
I just wanted to.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to elaborate and add on something else. Earlier in the meeting, there was some discussion about the fire hydrants from the fire department, and that was excellent. And thank you, Joe Corrigan, for bringing that up at the previous workshop as well. And yeah, I think it's great. You know, it'd be great if we could do the adopt a hydrant situation that was proposed. I think if that's something feasible, I think that'll be a great idea. And definitely we need to just sort of codify whatever it is that we do or change. I think it's definitely time to look at some of that stuff just to make sure that there's a good list and that the fire department knows if there's any elderly or whatever, and if somebody's adopted a hydrant, et cetera, and that would involve the building department as well for citations and that sort of thing if people don't maintain.
Yeah, it's also, am I on?
You're on, Mayor.
Yeah, You know, and another thing is for our residents out there that if they do have a hydrant on their street, or if they know it's in front of someone that is elderly or not able to do the shoveling, you know, if you're able to, maybe you can help them out and pitch in while we get this underway and make sure that we have the resources available and the adopt the hydrant and all of that. But
Right.
let's keep in mind, you know, your neighbors, that's all.
Right. Just to add one more thought that I wanted to add, and you know, sort of what the resident, unfortunately, they couldn't be with us tonight, but they had asked in an email, you know, basically when there's plowing operations, occasionally the plows, you know, might also plow in a hydrant in such a way that it becomes difficult even for an able-bodied person to remove the snow. And in fact, the resident pointed out that on some occasions, there have been people, I don't know if it was from the fire department or whatever, that came by with chainsaws, literally chainsaws, to clear the ice that developed, not necessarily this year, but in prior years at certain storms near a hydrant. And I'm wondering if there's not some way to flag off the hydrants in such a way that the plows can lift for a moment as they pass, so that they don't intentionally, you know, create a hazard condition that becomes difficult for anybody, even an able-bodied person, to clear.
I think some of the hydrants are flagged with metal flags. And I do believe I spoke with the supervisor of the street department, and he did indicate that during certain storms, they're able to do all of that and move some of the snow, not all of the snow, depending on the amount of snow. So it's just challenging with 250 hydrants. The water department, and like I said, the water department, the fire department, and the street department, everybody's working towards a common goal and solution. So hopefully we can get it all put together.
Sure. No, I like I said, I'm just looking out for the resident who wrote that email, you know, because I think they did have some valid points. That's all. I just think that it should be visited.
Thank
So I believe that's it for myself. I'm not sure if anyone else had anything.
Okay then. Motion to close.
Motion, trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone, do I have a second?
Second, trustee. Oh, go ahead, Fred. I think Fred did.
Seconds it.
Trustee Sauberman, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Be safe.
Thank you.